heading into the main living space here. Look, there's me. Hi everybody, welcome back to Reissued. If you're new here, my name is Andrew. Welcome, thank you for being here. If you're not new here, if you've seen my content before, or maybe even if you're subscribed, thank you so much. We're going on this journey together. I'm happy to have you with me. So this week we're doing things a little bit differently. I posted a photo on Instagram a couple of days ago of me wearing a painted jacket that I made in 2018, and someone left a comment that asked if I could show the whole jacket and they wanted to learn a little bit more about it, I think. So it got me thinking about all of the DIY projects that I've done over the years, long before I was posting about them on YouTube. I mean, I've only been posting on YouTube for a couple weeks, but I've been in the DIY lifestyle for a while, so I was thinking that maybe it would be worthwhile and informative and exciting to take you guys on a little tour of my apartment and go through the DIY memory lane of all of the projects that I have that I'm still wearing or that I wear from time to time, or things that I have around my house. I have two main goals for this video. One, I think a big part of the DIY thing is how to achieve a goal. Like, you see something that you want to make and you just know how to get there. And there's so many great creators on YouTube that are creating that kind of content. I think the other main angle, what I would sort of get to, maybe the Pinterest angle, is just offering the initial inspiration, right? It's one thing to have an idea and be able to execute it. It's another thing to like take something that you see and have the idea and the vision to make it into something else, or to see a space and figure out how to make that space best work for you and your aesthetic. So I hope that maybe in this little tour, you'll find some inspiration and some new ideas that might inspire you in your life, in your space, in your style. The other main goal, it's important to me that I'm creating content that feels interesting to you and applicable to you and helpful to you. So as we go along, I'm gonna move pretty quickly and just sort of like hit the highlights. But if there's something that you see that you really like and you really want to make and you want more information about what my process was like in making those, I'm happy to make a dedicated video to maybe do a recreation of that project, or just to share a little bit more in depth about what that process was like, and maybe see if I can dig up some old photos, or just to share some more information on that level. Let me know in the comments down below which projects you're particularly interested in and things that you're excited about, so that I can make sure that I push those projects to the forefront so you can get the information that you're looking for on that. So I'm gonna take you off the tripod and we're gonna take a little tour of like the ghosts of my DIY past, but in a good way. And hopefully you'll find some new inspiration. All right, so we're starting right here in my office, which you've seen a lot before in several videos because I usually start here. I wanted to start actually down at the floor here. You can see this is a rug that I painted when I was living in New York. This is probably 7 years ago, maybe. I got into painting rugs because I feel like rugs are one of those things that are so expensive. This particular rug, I think I found a photo. I can't find the reference photo now, but it was, I think it was a rug from Blue Dot. It was, it looked like a photocopy or a photograph of a wood grain. And so I went in, I purchased a cream rug from Lowe's, and then I went in with one of those latex paint samples, super affordable, and then watered down the paint as I went. For a lot of painting that I do, gridding is super important. If you can break things down into a grid, it's much easier to achieve the scale and the detail that you're looking for. I'm hoping to do a video. You can see this rug is, it's been through a lot. She's had some parties, she's had some spills. So at some point, I'm probably gonna be doing a little repaint on that to sort of reinvigorate the contrast in the rug. Let me know if you wanna see that. Oh, behind me right here, you can see this little wood piece. My mom and I made this when I was living in New York. It's a picture ledge, and I think it's ultimately gonna end up hanging on this wall here, and all that crap on the floor is probably gonna hang on it in some way. I followed a DIY blog to create that. So if you wanna see, I'll see if I can find that link and put that below. Super simple to make, it looks great for that kind of like raw wood, reclaimed kind of look. For upcoming projects, I have that file cabinet in the corner. I have another file cabinet here and the other wall, so I probably won't keep that in here. It's living there for now. I had that in my old apartment. I've seen some really cool wallpapered or, otherwise like sort of decoupaged or painted treatments on file cabinets, and I want to give that a go. So that's just kind of living there as storage for now. Having a whiteboard is super key for my life. It's really helpful to be able to write things down and erase them easily. So this was a cheap one that I purchased at Office Depot, I think. But I think it needs to get some sort of frame or something put on it to make it look a little less like office-y and clinical. So that is definitely gonna be an upcoming video as well. All right, we're heading into the main living space here. Look, there's me. One of the things that drew me most to this apartment was the amount of space that it had. Because I do work as a choreographer, it was important to me that I had a lot of space and that I kept a large amount of that space open. I also just picked up these mirrors. These are mirror doors that I got at a liquidation store here in Georgia. They were pretty affordable, and to be able to have this amount of mirror for the price that I paid was awesome. They're just sitting on the floor now. I don't know exactly how I'm planning to hang them at this point. I might end up painting them black as well to give them a little bit more of a polished finish. But if you're looking for large mirrors in your space, definitely look into mirror doors as an option to just get that mass at a more affordable price. Over here in the corner, this is a chair that I picked up at an estate sale in Georgia many, many years ago, actually. And it was sort of a duller yellow color before, and it had some staining and a little discoloration on the fabric. And so I decided to go in I combined a latex paint with the fabric medium, which allowed me to coat the fabric with a couple different coats without it getting super stiff. You can see the fabric is a little bit shiny now and has kind of like a rubberized texture. And so it allowed me to sort of enhance and boost the saturation of the color to make it a little bit more on brand for me, and allowed all of the detail of the chair to stay intact as that went. Over here in the kitchen, there's not too much to report. One of the joys of a rental space is that areas like this are generally pretty standard and pretty committed to being what they are. You can't really make too many alterations. However, I will say that I think that for any renters out there, I would majorly consider under cabinet lights. This is something that I actually bought these when I was in New York and had them in that apartment as well. These are from IKEA. You can see they're just these little round lights. They have cords here, and then they plug into the wall. There's a transformer that's actually up on top of the cabinets, and you can run the wiring up through the sides sometimes if you're lucky. Both kitchens I've had where I was able to do that. Right now, all the wires are just kind of hanging everywhere because I haven't taken the time to secure them in place. I'll probably go in with a gaff tape and just hold them along so that all of that will disappear. You'll just see the one cord with the little power thing here. But it's just such a nice, I'm gonna turn off the other lights here. It's just such a nice thing. This is a pretty dark space during the day. And so it's nice to have these lights just kind of stay on, and they're really nice for the little prep space here. Definitely give those some consideration for your rental space. Also, I picked up this glassware at Kohl's. I don't have a lot of upper cabinet space here, and most of what I have is pretty full already. So I'm gonna be building some shelves to go on that wall that will be made out of a drawer that I found at Habitat. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be pretty awesome. Heading into the bathroom, there's not too much that you haven't seen. The wall that I made, have a video on that. This little fragrance holder, have a video on that. Cigar box that I bought when I bought the cigar box for the fragrance holder, also included in that video. You can see that I have kind of products and crap everywhere. I have plans to, I have a little medicine cabinet thing that I purchased that will live on this wall right here. It needs some alterations, so you'll see that in an upcoming video for sure. But all in all, the bathroom is pretty, getting closer to what I think it should look like. Heading on into the living room, this is a piano that I got on Craigslist for free. There's a whole story behind how that all happened, and I'll be doing a video on that as well. I have an electric piano that I am hoping to put inside of that. It's gonna be a struggle. I don't really know how that's gonna happen. I've been watching some videos on YouTube about people that have done that before. It seems like it might be a little bit beyond my stretch, but this piano's not super functional as it is. It's super out of tune, it's damaged, and so I want it to be able to function, and I already have the piano to go inside of it, but that will happen at some point. This is a mirror. I just bought at Habitat for like 20 bucks. Awesome. All of my art right now, art is super important to me in a space. It's just sort of sitting there. I can't commit to hanging it on the wall, I guess because I'm not really in love with I'm not sure that I love this layout, so I'm hesitant to commit. So that's where we are on that. Coming over here, this is a screen that I found on the street in New York when I was living there. It is one of those sort of like standard screens that has the kind of rice paper in the middle and all of like the evenly spaced boxes. When I found the screen on the street, it was damaged. The rice paper had been ripped off of it entirely, and there were a few of these little wood pieces that were broken. So I decided to go with that, and I created a little diagram and strategically cut out certain parts and then ended up gluing this together to create this more geometric pattern. It's not perfect, but it's, it does its job, and it looks nice here in the space. I hung it on the wall in my last apartment, but I kind of liked it for the space to have a little bit of barrier through to the bedroom area there. Not too much DIY action happening in the bedroom yet. We're coming to that for sure. Let's head over to the closet. So here in the closet, I pulled all of my DIY things that I wanted to talk about just to the front here. I have the harnesses. I made a video about those. I have the things I had at home and how I upcycled them. I have a video on that. I have the denim chaps. That was my first video. I have a video on that. This is actually the jacket that inspired this video in general. It is a just standard tuxedo jacket that I found at Goodwill in Austin, Texas when I was working there. It had some discoloration, and so I ended up painting out the discoloration with some black paint to make it a little bit more even overall. Then I went in with the white latex paint, just house paint that I had on hand, and did all of these markings. I was thinking a little bit about tailoring markings and then mixing those with plastic surgery markings. So I did a little research there to see where would be the right places to put those on the body, and painted all of those into place. Just as a side note here, there's many reasons that I make my own clothes often. I'll see something that a designer does and I can't afford it, and so we do that. I think one of the coolest things that I found for this particular jacket, I wore this first to an opera gala, and then I wore it to an opening party for an opera when I performed at the Kennedy Center. And I feel like it's such a wonderful thing when going to those kinds of events to be wearing something that's really unique and to be wearing something that you made yourself, because it's like automatic conversation starter. People are like, oh my God, that's so cool. Where did you get it? I made it. So it's just such a cool way to connect with people. I always keep that in mind when I go to these kinds of events now. This next shirt was one of my initial quarantine projects. When all the COVID stuff went down, I stayed in New York for about 3 months of it. And so I was in my apartment a lot and making stuff a lot for the first time in a while. These were 2 shirts that I had on hand. This white shirt, actually, it was a Goodwill purchase that I had bought to wear under this guy here. And this got done just before I wore it to the event the first time, so it was kind of wet still when I wore it. So this shirt got some major staining on the back and on this sleeve over here. So I put these 2 shirts together. I had this on hand from a video shoot that I did. And I was thinking of sort of the Margiela aesthetic, cutting things apart, putting them back together. You can see some top stitching detail there just to give it a little bit of interest, the button placket there. Mostly just went in and did this on my dress form, seeing how things could combine. Super cool. This jacket is another example of something that I did for an opening party. So when I was dancing at Lyric Opera of Chicago, the production that we were working on of La Traviata, the costumes were super ornate and had been hand painted to give them this kind of like impressionistic look. And so I was inspired by that. And then there was a McQueen collection that had a lot of painted leather and this kind of color and this kind of treatment, very sort of painterly, if you will. And so I was inspired to create this to wear to that event. I actually ended up selling quite a few of these through Instagram. Every single one is unique because they are hand painted. had a pattern on hand. It was a vintage pattern from 1967, I think. And I had this fabric that I had purchased. I got both the pattern and the fabric at the Scrap Exchange in Durham, North Carolina. I've mentioned that place before. It's an awesome, affordable, reusable, very eco-conscious kind of place. So I had this on hand. I decided to give that a shot when I was at home doing nothing. This was incredibly difficult to sew. Again, it's got that slippery fabric that's difficult to work with. Also, it was my first time working with a pattern that was this old, and I think that there's like, I don't know, I feel like at the time there were a lot more people that knew a lot more about how to sew, and so there, the directions could afford to be less clear and could afford to be less helpful. So in the present sense, I'm not as equipped to sew in general. So there was a lot of a learning curve for me in terms of like following the directions or not following the directions, and when was the best time to do that. But no, I get a lot of questions about this one on Instagram. Let me know, maybe I've seen people on YouTube do the I followed a vintage pattern type deal. Maybe you want to see something like that. I'm thinking of making another one of these for my sister. So let me know how you feel about that. And finally here, I have this guy. This is like a debut. This has not been seen by anyone anywhere. I have worn it, but I have not posted about it on Instagram or here on YouTube. This was a quarantine project as well. This was a pattern that I made myself, which was difficult, but it's a pretty simple cut, just like a little like shift shirt kind of situation. Both of these fabrics were purchased at the Scrap Exchange. Also when I purchased the stuff for the robe. This binding for the sleeve was made out of the remnants of this shirt. This binding at the neck was made out of a sock. Yeah, it was pretty trial and error, and I sort of like solved problems as I went. But yeah, it's cool, it's sheer, and then it has this cool kind of like armored detail above it. This pattern from the front was actually pulled from a Zara jacket that I had back in the day. It was my first like leather pleather jacket that I ever bought, and I loved this biker kind of detail. This was padded on the jacket, and so I wanted to sort of incorporate that type of patterning in this space where it's sheer and opaque in different places. So this one is super cool. It's a little difficult to wear because it's kind of high maintenance, but leaving the closet and back out into the open. So this apartment was a cotton mill that has been renovated into loft apartments. So the bedroom area was an elevator shaft, and so you get this kind of like weird hallway type situation, hallway to nowhere, if you will. And so that has currently been a storage place for all of my crap. I have costumes from choreographic pieces that I've made. I have things that I picked up for future DIY projects. You can see right on top here, there's that medicine cabinet I was talking about for the bathroom. I just have stuff everywhere. I am in the planning stages of making a shelving unit that will go all the way along this wall. Just a little reminder of these lighting fixtures. I made a video on those pretty early on with the pot put on the existing fixture. Those guys have been great for what I need in my space. And then I also have this little light that is in the works as well. It was a telescope little stand thing that I purchased at Goodwill. And then we found this can light that fits nicely inside. I have a rubber tape thing that's gonna hold it in there a little bit better. But we're working on rewiring the back so that it will become like one of those floor spotlight things. Very cool, really affordable because I got everything, secondhand. So I'm excited to see that one come to life as well. So that concludes our tour. Much more DIY stuff to come. Thanks so much for taking the time to check everything out with me. Again, if you see anything that you like and that you want to see more detail on about how I made it, how the patterns worked, I'm happy to do that. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week.